Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex P. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Saturday, March 23rd, presented by Boston Hemp Inc. Ian Cameron, and look who's here. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Alex B. Smith, still in Chicago, but back with us here on the Ice Guys after a week hiatus, back home tending to Mama Smith, who is great news is that she is doing a lot better. Alex, great to have you back, and I know the viewers, the listeners, the Ice Guys fam are happy to see you back.
Yeah, it was wonderful to be back, and I have to say, thank you to everybody who has, sent their kind words and their well wishes over the last week. Mom is doing well; she's recovering nicely, and hopefully, in a few days she'll be kind of getting back to regular activity, and then a few days after that, I can be leaving and heading back to St. Paul. But definitely wanted to join you guys on the weekend, and just wanted to say, absolute big thanks to everybody. It means a lot, coming from you guys. Like I said, we're a Nice Guys family. And it proves in times of strength, and to be able to have you guys with the support and backing there, it means a lot. So,
yeah, no doubt, and definitely the kind words. And I saw it in the chat every day when Alex was not here. All the well wishes for Alex and his mom, and it's great. That's why we are the Ice Guys family, because we are a family. We care about one another. It's not just, hey, we're here to make bets and we're here to try to make money, and we're here because we all love NHL hockey and we love hockey. We love watching it. We love betting it. No, we're here also because we've got a great camaraderie with Alex and I, with all of our viewers and listeners, and it shines through big time,
Definitely.
On a week like this. So awesome stuff, and great to have Alex back. Let's get into some pucks. We've got lots to talk about. Friday, we've obviously it was a light slate, but certainly a lot to talk about. Carolina, Washington, just a wild and crazy and insane hockey game. Carolina, you could tell at the end of that game they were running on fumes, sucking dirty pond water, as Pierre Maguire would use that term often back in the day. And that's what we saw with the Hurricanes. And, they were making the kind of gaffes and mistakes and defensive miscues with the puck that you won't see from them 99% of the time. And I blame the schedule makers for what we saw to Carolina. That is absolutely, utterly ridiculous and absurd that the Carolina Hurricanes played 5 games in 7 nights. And that was their 5th game in 7 nights last night against the Washington Capitals. You've got to do something better than that if you're the NHL schedule maker. I don't care what it is, but you can't have a team in that kind of situation in a sport like this, with the speed they play at, with the amount of physical and mental exhaustion that you have to go through after every game, that you're going to make a team play 5 games in 7 nights. You could tell there was nothing in the tank. Carolina was totally and utterly spent at the end of that hockey game. And it was just, I blame the schedule makers for it. And I give Carolina credit for getting 1 point out of that, quite honestly, last night, because 5th game in 7 nights, which is absolutely asinine. Number 2 is Washington's playing with utter desperation and urgency because their season is on the line. They're trying to make the playoffs. They need every point they can get. So not only did they get, it was 5th game in 7 nights, but it was also a tough game because of the opponent and the urgency that the Washington Capitals were playing with. So for Carolina to gut that one out still and get a point, credit to them. And for Washington, look, that game was on the rails for a bit for them, or went off the rails for a bit. And Darcy Kemper was awful, absolutely awful. The 4th goal that he gave up at the end of the second period, it's like there was a hole in his fucking glove. Just went right through his glove, off his glove and in. It was a terrible goal to give up. He gets pulled. I credit Spencer Carberry for that, because it might have saved the game. It really might have saved the game, because it was that rough a night for Darcy Kemper. Charlie Lindgren comes in. Yeah, he gives up 2 goals in the 3rd, but he made a bunch of saves. He was outstanding in overtime, and he was even better than that in the shootout. So you have to give Charlie Lindgren a shit ton of credit for coming in a tough spot there in that game. And for Washington, that is beyond gigantic, getting that 2 points for them and move back to within 1 point of a playoff spot with that 7-6 shootout victory last night over the Carolina Hurricanes. A lot of good prop winners, too. You're right, including Terry was on the show yesterday. Terry, by the way, hats off to Terry. Great job all week filling in on the show for Alex Monday to Friday. He was pretty much on every day pretty much this week. Did a great job. He was on the Seth Jarvis Carolina goal prop. I was on that prop. He continues to deliver the goods for Carolina. I couldn't believe this. I know Alex sent plays throughout the week, even though he was not on the show. And I know one of his bargain bin specials, I believe from the Toronto-Washington game, was Sonny Milano to score a goal. It doesn't score that night, but he's okay getting a hat trick last night.
Yeah.
Isn't that fucking ridiculous, huh?
I laughed my ass off when I saw him get the second goal, and I said at some point, probably going to get the hat trick.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Well, we've talked about him, though. He has really stepped up offensively here for Washington about the last month, and he sure did that last night with the hat trick. 7-6 Washington there, so a huge 2 points for them. And look, Carolina, 5 games in 7 nights. It's going to be 6 games in 9 nights for them when they play Toronto on Sunday. So it's not like they get a lot of rest. It's not like the NHL schedule maker said, yeah, we've made you play 5 games in 7 nights. Let's give you 3-4 days off. No, they're back in action tomorrow. It'll be their 6th game in 9 nights. So it's totally ridiculous. But that's the way it is. Dallas 4-2 win against Pittsburgh. This could have been a clean sweep for me, but we did get the over 1.5 first period. We did get both teams to score first period. 2/3 of the over trifecta came through. Oh, and we did have Dallas team total over. We had some props too. We had Jamie Benn to get a goal because he's starting to heat up. Duchesne, we were involved with. Robertson over 1.5 points. I was hoping Wyatt Johnston would make more of an impact, but he didn't. But what really hurt and kept us from the sweep was it was 4-2 Dallas. Looked like they had the empty net goal, put it away 5-2 and cash the full game over, sweep the over trifecta. But nope, offside on the play, and the empty net goal does not count. And unfortunately, the game ends 4-2 in favor of the Dallas Stars. So that close to sweeping the over trifecta with the Penguins and the Stars last night. But still an overall good result. Team total hits for Dallas. And, of course, we get the over the 2/3 of the over trifecta with the first period bets cashing in. Colorado 6-1 against Columbus. That's what I was worried about. The situational scream Columbus. Colorado's off a road trip, maybe a flat spot. But first of all, Columbus is not good enough to take advantage of it. And 2 is Colorado's just playing absolutely outstanding hockey right now. And they put it on Columbus. I should say rough night. He faced a lot of shots. He actually was pretty solid, but still he gives up a lot of goals. I think he just, ran out of steam. Elvis Merzlikins in the 3rd period, and Colorado opened it up. That was a good game for me from a prop standpoint because I took a shot with Rantanen over 1.5 points, McKinnon over 1.5 points, and yes, that same game parlay. I've just done this off the top of the spur of the moment. This is not pre-planned for me. These same game parlays the last 2 nights. The Tampa Bay one against San Jose and the one I mentioned for this game, Colorado-Columbus. Just off the top of my head, spur of the moment, I said, how about we take a shot here? Rantanen over 1.5 points, McKinnon over 1.5 points, and Big Val Nichushkin to score a goal. And that was plus 475, and it ended up cashing in that game. So I'll have to think of a same game parlay here probably today on this show. Now that we've cashed 2 in a row here, back-to-back nights. But 6-1 Colorado, nice win there. And the last game on the board, not an easy one for Arizona. And Seattle was feisty. You give them credit on a back-to-back, but right now Seattle, they just can't find a way to win a game, and they're fading fast. The playoffs are not happening for this team. They've fallen way out of it. What is it now? A 7-game losing streak for the Kraken, with a 1-7 now without Vince Dunn in the 8 games without him. They miss him dearly on the blue line to start the rush. One of the best puck mover they have from the back end, and you can clearly see they're struggling to score goals without him because, again, they're not getting that defense to offense transition game going without Vince Dunn like they normally would with him in the game. And sure enough, Arizona ties it late. Wasn't looking good for them, but they get the game to overtime. And then a brilliant breakaway goal for Dylan Guenther. What a shot. Ripped it over Joey Decord's shoulder. No chance. And Arizona wins 2-1 to cash my best bet on the show. And actually, Alex had Arizona as best bet as well on the Patreon page, even though he wasn't on the show yesterday. So Arizona with the best bet, and that's now, I believe, for me with best bets on the show. I think we're on some kind of 6 or 7 game win streak now with the best bets going back to last weekend. So we're on a best bet heater, yours truly, and we'll see if we can keep that going. Alex, thoughts on Friday night?
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, Carolina, Washington, I watched every minute of this game, and when we saw it going back and forth, and you talked about, keep in mind, there were 3 goals that were overturned in this contest. It could have easily been a 10-12, a 12-10 final. in this game if it wasn't, like I said, for Pyotr Kochetkov playing well, making some huge saves. He said Lindgren came in and shut the door down. He made some big 10-bell saves late in that contest, and certainly, like I said, in the overtime session and the shootout as well. So that was a fun game to watch. And like I said, just horrible. When you talk about scheduling, you mentioned the 5 and 7, and now will be 6 and 9 coming up on Sunday for Carolina. But you look at Washington, they showed a graphic. I was watching, the game was on NHL Network, so they showed a graphic at the first intermission. There's a home road split for the last 8 games of the year for Washington, where they're going to have to travel home and road. So you got a team that's traveling 8 games in a row. You got these teams that are playing 5 games in a week. Yeah, what these schedule makers? I don't understand what they're doing. I understand the mandated 5-day breaks, but they stuffed too many of them right at the end of the All-Star break to give them that extended time. And now these teams are paying for it dearly. So now you have Washington, a team that should be a playoff team. Okay, based on how bad Detroit's playing and how well they're playing, they should really be one of those teams that could make a run and grab that second and final wild card spot in the East. But now with this travel, there's no telling what could happen with this team. And I get you saying, okay, well, you got to play the games regardless. But to have a team playing 2 back-to-backs where they have to travel on each legs in the middle of an 8-game stretch and where no team is in one space, even if you had 2 road games, you're still adding that extra travel. So I think it's 9 games of travel essentially for Washington to wrap up the season. It's just an asinine thing. There has to be better balance in the schedule, and I think it needs to be better balance late. We talked about earlier, there's a whole lot of gaps and spots where teams go 3 days, 4 days at the beginning of the year when they have all their energy. Why not? Oh, if you're going to load up the schedule, load it up early in the year. Have them play 5 and 7 games, five games in 7 days in October, not in March and April, especially when these games mean something to these teams. So, yeah, there has to be better balance with the schedule in reference to that. So I totally agree with you. Seattle and Arizona was the other game that I caught, and I had Arizona already. And once again, we go with the puck don't lie theory. It was 1-0 Seattle late. Arizona got a goal. It ended up being a distinct kicking motion. And as soon as I saw it come back, I went right and bet the draw plus 330. I got FanDuel, so I'm here in Illinois, and cashed that in along with getting Arizona to win in overtime. So that was a really nice hit for me as well. And Dallas continuing, the second period overtrend, rolling once again, and now that they're getting their bearings under them. Obviously, that's against a Pittsburgh team that we know is just pretty much hung out to dry at this point. But you got to get those points. You have to beat those teams. We were talking about 2-3 weeks ago. Even going back to that Arizona game, they ended up winning it. But how they started in the first period was just absolutely awful. Put away bad teams late in the season. If you want to be a team, a true team that can contend in the West, we talk about all the time, killer instinct. Dallas has to show that killer instinct. They're getting better, but they're not right there where they need to be, especially in that log jam, because they got to fight through, and you can't have any more draw season if you're Dallas. Okay, your draw season time is up. You got to start winning regulation games because you're right there in the third spot, and it's 1, 2, 3.
And that's the tiebreaker. Regulation wins.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly right. So you're looking at being on the road, regardless of whoever wins this division, be it Winnipeg or Colorado. You got to try and get your regulation wins up in these next few games. So that's something that they're gonna have to make an emphasis on. You can't have games go past 60 if you're Dallas, and I probably wouldn't be betting on any draws involving the Stars because they're a team that might actually, buck the trend and try to go for broke to get that second point in regulation. To have that because they know they need that, and that's something to keep an eye on, especially at the very end of the year. We might see them pull a goalie in a tie game in game 81 or game 82 if it means getting home ice. So something to really make a note of involving the Dallas Stars.
Yeah, no doubt. And again, it's very important to remember that if the teams are even in points at the end of the season, regulation wins is the first tiebreaker. So, and I actually like that that's what's used. You reward the teams that don't need overtime or shootout as much to win their games as other teams. And I like that that's the approach, and I like that that's the case right there, that they are going to give those teams the opportunity to have the advantage as far as the tiebreaker is concerned. So I think that's one of the really good tiebreakers to use because it gets a better gauge, like to punish the teams a little bit where, hey, you're struggling around, you're playing with your food a little bit, and you're needing beyond 60 minutes to win a lot more of your games than maybe you should. And you get penalized for that based on the way the tie-breaking procedure works in the NHL. All right, let's get to Saturday. It is a huge slate. We've got 4 games in the afternoon slate before we even get to the night games where there's 7. So we've got 7 night games and we have 4 day games, 11 games altogether here on this NHL slate. We'll begin with the Boston Bruins taking on the Philadelphia Flyers. The Bruins minus 135, road favorites, 6 the total here in this game. I remember, Alex, we were on a Saturday afternoon, and it was Mark Recchi getting honored, and it was Bruins at Flyers, Saturday afternoon, 1 Eastern, and I took a shot with the Flyers, and I got my teeth kicked in, I got my head caved in, and so did the Philadelphia Flyers. So I'm not doing that again. And you've got Boston off a loss as well against the New York Rangers the other night, losing by a score of 5-2 the other night at TD Garden, a game where it wasn't a terrible effort from the Bruins, but third period, you could tell the Rangers certainly had the better looks in that game for sure, and it ends up, again, going over the total. I was on the over in that Bruins-Rangers game, and I look at this matchup here. I like the over here, and I got it at 5.5 before it moved to 6. There were 5.5s at minus 125 still out there with that full game over. It's moved up to 6 now. I would still lean that way for sure. I think we're right now in a period of the schedule where the Bruins offense is a little bit underrated right now, because right now they've got, obviously, Pasternak's doing his thing. Marchand's always a threat. Zacha's been good lately. You see what Jake DeBrusk is doing. You see that Charlie Coyle's capable offensively, and all of a sudden you're seeing Justin Brazeau and some of these depth forwards are all of a sudden, chipping in and producing as well for the Boston Bruins. So it's definitely a better offense. They're in good offensive form right now. And I mentioned that and why I like the over against the Rangers the other night. 5.5s right now with this Bruins team look a little low with the way their offense is going. I mean, they're getting the depth forwards, helping out the big guns. So that's been the difference here. Now, Jimmy Murphy was with us yesterday, and he did say that right now, of the 2 Bruin goalies, Linus Ullmark has been the better goalie lately. Swayman's taken a little step back, little decline. Meanwhile, Ullmark, since the All-Star break, has looked like Vezina Trophy from last year, Linus Ullmark. So that would be probably my one concern here as far as the total. But 5.5, I did bet over 5.5, and it's my only play here for this early start affair with the Bruins and the Flyers. Like I said, Philadelphia needs points. They've played 2 pretty good games since the whole Couturier getting scratched scenario started. They beat Toronto. They took a very good Carolina team to overtime the other night. So you got to admit that for all the controversy with Sean Couturier out of the lineup, John Tortorella has seen his team respond positively, getting 3 out of a possible 4 points against 2 very good Eastern Conference teams, the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Carolina Hurricanes. So it looks like there's going to be, I'm trying to see if there's going to be I actually am seeing right now, we'll see if we can get confirmation on this. I believe Sean Couturier is back today, but it looks like he is going to be on the 4th line. So not exactly a pat on the back from Torts there that's for Couturier, because we know normally he's a top-line center for this team, but it looks like he is at least back in the lineup today on the top line, or on the 4th line, I should say, centering the 4th line with Noah Cates and Ollie Lykesel on that 4th line with him. That's the only change up front. So Couturier, the captain's back, albeit on the 4th line. Yeah, he probably should be there for now, just because Frost, Konechny, and Tippett has really had good chemistry on the top line for Philadelphia since they got put together. So that's the main lineup change for the Flyers. Looks like Mark Stahl on the blue line is still a healthy scratch. Sam Ersson in net for Philadelphia. Yeah, for me, the only thing I'm on is over 5.5 here, minus 125. Alex, what do you think here? Bruins, Flyers.
Yeah, I missed the boat on that. When I woke up, I saw 5.5 at 140. I certainly wasn't about to do that, but I did grab a little bit of the first period over. We've seen this cash in 10 of the last 12 meetings with these 2 teams, and like I said, Boston games just seem to be hard to kind of feel on Saturdays. Like you mentioned, that game with the Flyers where they got crushed. As I said, we both kind of liked Philly in that spot. Yeah, I've had a tough read with sides involving Boston on Saturdays for some reason. So I'm just staying with first period over. And, of course, this game will be going on as we're on the air and during the day. So if I have any live looks, I'll tweet them out.
Yeah, this is one of those games, too, where you could just do a nice, simple, like if you're going to do a same-game parlay, just keep it simple. I agree with what Rocco's saying. DeBrusk point, Pasta point, Zacha point. I think you put those 3 guys in particular on a point prop. I'm interested there. And I also want to say, too, another thing is I believe there's some value on Justin Brazeau again. He has been a nice little find here for the Bruins. He's been on the bottom, 6 forward group for this team, and he's been pretty solid down there. He scored the last game against the New York Rangers, and again, getting some pretty good value with him. He keeps playing like this. Jim Montgomery might feel compelled to eventually move him up the lineup a little bit because he's been chipping in these goals in spite of the fact that Jim Montgomery has him currently right now on the 4th line with Jakub Lauko and Jesper Boquist. So it's been very, very impressive here from Justin Brazeau. I'd maybe sprinkle on him for a longer shot goal prop here this afternoon as well for the Boston Bruins. All right, next game also starts at 1 p.m. Eastern. Winnipeg Jets, New York Islanders. Jets -140 road favorites. Total in this game currently at, it looks like 5.5 pretty much across the board in this matchup. If there's ever a poster child for must win doesn't equal will win, don't always bet the team that has to win because they don't always win. And usually when they're in a must-win situation, they're in a must-win situation for a reason because they're just a mediocre team. And that's what we're seeing right now with the New York Islanders. If you've been betting the New York Islanders lately because they've needed to win these games, it's not going very well for you right now, and it isn't going very well for Patrick Waugh and the New York Islanders. And I think when you look at this matchup here, why should I trust this team at this point? What evidence, what can I hang my hat on right now? The New York Islanders are doing blank well right now. Fill in the blank. What are they doing well right now? They're not scoring consistently. Penalty kill still stinks. He called out the goaltending, and I didn't see that get any better against Detroit the other night, losing 6-3. You could say the power play, I guess. They've had 2 goals in the last 4 games. That's not bad. But during this 6-game losing streak, it's been not enough offense, goaltending bad, penalty kill awful. There's not a lot that they can hang their hat on, I should say, right now, this New York Islanders team at this point. As far as beating good teams, I'm not sure they're capable right now. 4-1 loss to Carolina, 5-2 loss to the Rangers. Recent teams that have been pretty good teams, they haven't even been close, in those games. They lose 9-3 cumulative score with the losses there to the Hurricanes and the Rangers. This is Winnipeg or nothing for me. I did lay a little -132 here on Winnipeg. They're off a loss against New Jersey. I know they weren't happy with it. Penalty trouble. They said we lack discipline. We lack composure. We were flat, and they were because they were getting outshot 20-10 at one point in that game. I know I get a response from the Jets off a loss. What have I gotten from the Islanders off a loss? Off that first loss to LA, I've gotten 5 more further defeats, 5 more further losses from this team. So they have not responded. Yeah, I'll take a shot with Winnipeg here. Plus, Hellebuck versus Varlamov on paper does look like a goalie advantage here for the Winnipeg Jets going into this game. So, a little Winnipeg, nothing strong, but Winnipeg -132. I did lean draw, but I could also see this one not going to overtime because the Islanders just they got a lot of issues right now, and I'm not seeing any evidence of them fixing any of these issues. Alex, what do you think here? Winnipeg, New York Islanders.
Yeah, this is a game I'm waiting for live, and I want to grab Winnipeg, but I think we could maybe possibly get an Islanders goal early. So if I don't know if I'm going to bet Islanders to score the first goal. I think I might just wait for it to actually happen and try to grab Winnipeg at a better price. But like I said, I don't want to take a shot here with the draw. It's the draw season spot, and certainly, of course, with the Islanders being involved. But like I said, I just don't like where everything's going for them, and I think Winnipeg can get a jumper, in this game at some point and kind of control the pace. Like I said, the Islanders have just been kind of out of sorts right now. So if grab a little bit of draw because at +340 is the highest price I'm seeing. You may not even be able to get a chance to get anything around +3-1 in game unless you see a team take a 2-goal lead, which if the Jets take a 2-goal lead, there's no way they're blowing that and letting that one go past regulation. So I'm looking for something with Jets live. You can lay 140 right now, but like I said, with a big card, I'm playing this one a little safer with an early start, hoping that maybe the Owls can get a quick goal. We can hop and grab Jets at plus money.
All right, there we go. Yeah, Jets I'm already on. Like I said, I definitely think as far as the draw is concerned, that's probably worth a small look as well. Total, I'm off the total. This is a 5.5, and 5.5s I could only look over, but I'm not crazy about the over in this game. Jets off a loss, usually they can dumb it down. You know how many times the Jets off a loss when they've won the next game? Not only have they won, but the scores have been like 3-1, 3-0, 4-1. They've had so many wins like that when they're off a loss. So that's why I'm not crazy about the 5.5 over, even though it's a low total here in this game. I wouldn't take a ton of props either because it could be lower scoring. But if I'm going to take anyone on the Islanders, I'd probably look toward, like I said, Kyle Palmieri. Now, Anders Lee has been struggling mightily. Keep that in mind. The one thing, too, I do, and IceX does point this out, the Jets have had a bad time of it against the Islanders, 7-1 for the Islanders the last 8 meetings. But the Jets did win. That the one win was that most recent meeting in Winnipeg earlier this year. And this building in particular hasn't been a fun place to play, or hasn't seen a lot of Winnipeg W's over the years. But I'm looking to maybe make an exception here today. Like I said, I've got to see something better from the Islanders. We're not seeing it right now. That's awful to see that when that game started to go downhill for the Islanders against Detroit, it went downhill quickly. And that's a sign of a team that's a little fragile right now mentally, and that's not what you want to see. That's not what I want my money on. All right, next up, we've got St. Louis and Minnesota. The Minnesota Wild minus 145, home favorites, 5.5 the total here in this game. The Minnesota Wild get absolutely drilled. Final game of that road trip by the Los Angeles Kings on TNT television for the whole country to watch the other night. 6-0 beatdown. They had beat Anaheim 4-0 the night before, but we'll see if they can bounce back from that. But they're off that 3-game West Coast road trip back home. Now, it's not Malinsky special criteria because it's not a 4-game or longer road trip, only a 3-gamer, but still not a great spot by any stretch of the imagination here for the Minnesota Wild. Meanwhile, you've got St. Louis here, 5-1 in the last 6 meetings. 5-1 overall, I should say, in their last 6 games. They've won back-to-back meetings against the Minnesota Wild, but they had a 5-2 win against Ottawa, and their only loss was a 4-3 home loss to the mighty Avalanche. So, it's a team that's obviously playing quite well right now going into this matchup. But still, I know Minnesota was humiliated. I know Minnesota was embarrassed, and that's certainly something I think of in the back of my mind here going into this matchup this afternoon with the Blues and the Wild. By the way, we do not have goalies confirmed as of yet for either side from what I see. Just a projection of Fleury for Minnesota and Jordan Binnington for St. Louis. Just hasn't been confirmed. But I'm on the Blues here at plus 125. I just think their form is good. I know Minnesota got humiliated. There should be a response based on that, the way they played against LA. But they are off the West Coast, coming back home. Jet lag factors in a little bit. St. Louis has won each of the last 2. And really, more than anything, I'm betting current form. And to me, current form does not have the Minnesota Wild minus 145 as a favorite over St. Louis. Not in the current form and not based on what I'm seeing right now. The Blues are, I think this is kind of like the Ottawa game. We said the same thing the other night. The little bit of a surprising line. I had this way more closer to minus 115 on Minnesota. Okay, minus 120, make them a small home favorite. Okay, but minus 145 with the way St. Louis is playing right now. And sometimes you can't overthink it because I know there were people overthinking it. Why was Ottawa minus 130 the other night against St. Louis at home? Just like here, Minnesota, my price would have them minus 120. Okay, that's right, because you do have to factor in XL Energy Center. You do have to put a little extra, price on the home ice because it's been good over the years for Minnesota, but not at the minus 145 price range with the way the form is of these two teams right now. So St. Louis for me, plus 125. I do like that. I'm also going to do a little over bifecta here. Over 1.5 first period, over 5.5. I do like that angle. You've got a fatigued team off the road. Sloppy play could start to unfold here in this game. And I also mentioned it the other day with the LA game. I cashed a ticket, Minnesota, LA over 5.5, and I get it. LA did all the scoring for me. All 6 goals came from the Kings. But I said it when previewing that game on Wednesday. When Jonas Brodin is now out, in addition to Jared Spurgeon, that's 2 of the best blue liners and shutdown players that Minnesota has to keep the puck out of their net on the blue line. And because Brodin doesn't give you much offensively, but he's very good in his own end. And now you take him out off this blue line, and it's going to be a lot more problematic for Minnesota to defend and keep the puck out of their own net. I look at this blue line right now, and Faber's going to be a good one, but Middleton's a plugging defenseman. He's not a great skater. He's physical as hell, and he's tough as hell as well. Great fight the other night with him in England, but he's now a number 1 pair defenseman, and I'm sorry he's not. He isn't. He's solid. He's good at physical defenseman, but number 1 pair minutes, no. Declan Chisholm, very inexperienced still in green, and he's made some mistakes. He's been good at times, but he's made some mistakes with the puck at times. Zach Bogosian's best days are behind him, and they're asking this guy to play second pair minutes right now for the Minnesota Wild. And then you got John Merrill and Dakota Mermis. Dakota Mermis couldn't get out of the way of Marc-Andre Fleury on one of the goals the other night. It went in off him, so he screened his own goalie. So that tells you all you need to know about the third pair right now for Minnesota. This is just not a great blue line, and you take Brodin off it, and it's a really, really tougher time, I think, for Minnesota to keep the puck out of their own net, because I think Spurgeon and Brodin for years have been two of their best shutdown defensive-minded defensemen on this team. So that's why I think overs with Minnesota, especially with Brodin out now as well. So Blues plus the over by Fecta for me in this game. Alex, what do you think here? Blues Wild.
Yeah, well, I love the first period over, and just looking at this trend, we've seen 3 of the last 4 meetings in XL Energy Center go over in the first period, and so that would also kind of put me on that full game over at 5.5. I'm going to go full unit on the first period over, half unit on the full game. I think that we might see this slow down a little bit into the second period to where we can come back and maybe grab 5.5 and maybe try to shoot for a plus price. So getting a little creative with that spot. That's not something I would always technically do, but like I said, with kind of a day game and a bigger slate, I'm kind of just kind of doing things a little differently with some of these day games. My night game plays are mostly all pregame stuff. So a little bit of a live look there. And I'm going to take the Blues plus 125. I do with my power rankings, my goalie rankings, which I will be updating in the next couple of days over at patreon.com/Ice Guys. I have a little thing and it says HIC, and it's the home ice ranking. I have a 3 for Minnesota, which means that's higher than normal. That's not a bad. It's not a disadvantage. It's not like a Chicago on a Sunday or something like that. But it's definitely not where this price would go up to 145. That would have to be a 4 or higher, which I don't have anybody higher than a 4 in their home ice ranking. So yeah, they're taking that into consideration a little too heavy. St. Louis is a better team in better form, so I have to take them at this plus price. But I also like that first period over, bet that heavier pregame, and then add a little bit more with the over 5.5 in game.
All right, good stuff. Yes, there's some good prop options. Yeah, I mean, Terry was talking about it all week. Kirill Kaprizov been scoring almost every game until the LA game. Nobody scored. They got shut out that night. But I certainly would look in that direction. He's carried the team offensively for a while. There's nothing wrong with that. I've been disappointed that Marco Rossi's really cooled off the way he was. Remember, we were talking about how good he was offensively early in the season. The guy's got 1 measly point in like over a month. So he has not been delivering the goods for Minnesota of late, and he's getting ample opportunity, top 6 role, and not doing as much as you would want with it. But Kaprizov's the main one for Minnesota. For St. Louis, Braden Schen's been heating up. Won't you beat my neighbor? I don't even have to say it anymore, or sing it, I should say, anymore. You guys know that Jake Neighbors is on my prop card every day right now for St. Louis. He's heating up again. What do we see? 2 goals from him the other night. Yeah, Rocco Toropchenko, I'm going to take another shot with him. I don't want to be missing out when he does score. I know he's not going to score every game, but if I can get a goal every 4 or 5 games from him and be able to take plus 550, that's going to be profit. If I can cash at a once every 4 or 5 games clip with Alexei Toropchenko to score a goal, plus 550, that's going to be profit. So definitely, I agree. I mean, he's definitely been chipping in from that 4th line spot on this team of late. So yeah, definitely those are the main props there for me. Neighbors and a small shot on Toropchenko here for the Blues as well. All right, this is the last. Next up is the last of the afternoon games for this Saturday, a 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central start time. Detroit Red Wings, Nashville Predators. Nashville 14-0-2. They notched the 16-game consecutive game point streak franchise record. They got the franchise record with that 16 straight games with a point with the victory against Florida the other night. Can they keep it rolling here tonight? Right now it's Nashville minus 160, home favorites, 6.5 the total now. Wow. That's jumped up because it was 6 most of the morning. And now we're seeing 6.5 as far as this Red Wings and Predators total is concerned. So it has jumped up a little bit. And I see who's in net for Detroit, and I can kind of understand why it's jumped up. Alex Lyon has been confirmed in net for the Detroit Red Wings. So let's put it this way. That's probably good news for one of my bets on this game. It's probably bad news for one of my other bets in this game. I'll get to that in a moment. But when you look at this situation here for Nashville, they've been brilliant. Absolutely phenomenal. Uh, it almost makes you almost at this point should think to yourself, first thing should be, we got to find a way to keep betting on this team. Normally I would agree with that, and I've been on Nashville a bunch, and I thank Nashville for it. They've been very good to me with Predators money lines and Predators team totals over, and they have been absolutely phenomenal for me during this stretch. And the summit, if you will, the top of the mountain to this brilliant run, Alex, with me betting on Nashville was Florida the other night. Plus 150. Florida's finally hit a little dip in their performance and a little dip in their play lately. And I said, here's Nashville coming in. They can get the franchise record for most games with a point in a single season with that win. They're playing for Brunette, who got canned 2 years ago in Florida. And sure enough, what a performance. Shut him out. 3-0. Incredible performance. Lankinen, too, with the shutout. How about that? And Lankinen's played pretty well, believe it or not, lately for the Nashville Predators. But it was a great win. Terry liked Nashville on the show that day. I was on Nashville that day. I was on Nashville team total. Over 2.5 that day as well. Swept both of those. Thank you, Nashville. It was a great bet and a great price. Pit of my gut says it's time to go the other way here today. It is. I worry about this. You're coming off that huge win. You're now laying a premium. We're now starting to respect Nashville here in the betting markets. Look at this price now. We're not talking, minus 120 or 30 or 40 like it's been with Nashville the last several weeks during this hot run. No, now we're getting some little respect around here. There we go. Nashville minus 160 is what they're priced like here in this game. I mean, now you're paying a little bit of a tax here for this great 14-0-2 run that the Nashville Predators have been on. And then you counter that with Detroit, who look at the difference. Even though it was one game and the Islanders are struggling right now, 6-3 win the other night for Detroit. Look at the difference Dylan Larkin makes to that lineup. First game back, and look, they look like a completely different team. They look like Detroit that looked like a playoff team. They look like the Detroit team that can be a playoff team once again with Dylan Larkin back the other night against the Islanders. The offense looked smooth. They were better in terms of their coverages. Dylan Larkin's one of the best defensive-minded forwards on that team as well. The leadership component, he is a huge difference maker, and all you have to do is look at what Detroit's record was without him in the lineup. They just struggled mightily, and it's almost like they've got, the anchor of the team back again here in Dylan Larkin. And now it'll be his second game back this afternoon, so he'll feel even more comfortable. I'm really bothered now that Alex Lyon's in net because I could see him getting lit up. It's he doesn't exude a lot of confidence right now in me. But the one thing that at least now Newsy Lalonde has going for him, putting Lyon in net today, is he's finally done what I've been screaming about for weeks. He's given him a physical and mental break. He's finally given him several days off, not just one or two. He's finally given him a couple games where he didn't start, sat on the bench, observed things from the bench area, watched the games unfold, and just, recharge your batteries, hit the reset button, and come back here this afternoon with finally the most days off I think he's had in quite some time, and maybe, just maybe, play a better game. We'll see, because he hasn't had this many days off in a long time. Like, he hasn't played in a week. It was last Sunday at Pittsburgh, the last time he played. So he needed this. He badly, and I've been saying it all along, he badly needed a break. And he finally got one. 6 days off. He should be fresh, recharge the batteries, hit the reset button. And let's be real, Alex Lyon's been bad, no doubt. He's been awful the last few weeks. But this was a good goalie at one point early this season. He played well. In fact, he played very well for Detroit earlier this season. He played very well last year for the Florida Panthers. He's a big part of why they got in the playoffs, down the stretch with the way he played for the Panthers and Paul Maurice late in the regular season last year. You just hope that the time away and the time off does him some good and leads to better things and a better performance here this afternoon. Not going to be easy playing this piping hot Nashville team with maybe the best top line, the hottest top line in the sport right now when you're thinking of Forsberg, O'Reilly, and Nyquist, and just how incredibly on fire they have been during this 16-game run. But I'm taking my shot here with Detroit, plus 140 in this spot. This is a game, too, where I think over trifecta could get there, especially now with, I don't want to I don't want to put all my eggs in the basket of believing that, just because 6 days off, Lyon plays better. I think he will. I actually legitimately do think he'll play better, but in the off chance he doesn't and the struggles continue, I definitely want a piece of over trifecta in my pocket. Over 1.5 first period, which has been good for Detroit, by the way, lately, until the Islander game. But prior to that, they had a lot of first period overs, and that game still went over for the full game, that Red Wings Islanders game. So over trifecta, as well as Detroit plus 140, and a sprinkle on the draw too. Dog and draw. Got to have the draw in my pocket as well, plus 380. So dog and draw split over trifecta here for me with should be a good one. I'm excited to watch this. It's a standalone game. It's the only game going on at 5 p.m. Eastern, late in the afternoon. Excited to see how this one unfolds with the resurgent Red Wings with their captain back, trying to take down this Nashville team that's been an absolute on-fire juggernaut, 14-0-2 in their last 16 games. Although they got the record last game, it feels like this could be a little bit of a downer spot for Nashville. We'll see if they can avoid that. Alex, what do you think here? Detroit, Nashville.
Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting game because, like I said, you have a hot Nashville team and you have a Detroit team that had been pretty much playing like dog shit for a while. And now you said, getting wins 3 of the last 4, rolling back into the right direction. But I just feel like that's kind of a clash here where we might see Nashville kind of lay a little bit of an egg, play a little bit slower. Detroit kind of match their intensity a bit. And that's why I like to draw more than anything else in this spot. Now, I will be on the first period and full game overs live. I have a little bit of actually, I do have a little piece of first period over 1.5 minus 135. I bet it small pregame to add on, try and get it just at a better price. I'm shooting more for a little bit lower, hopefully a plus price, even with a 6.5. So that's just what I'm looking for with that. But I think we're going to see Nashville kind of come out. If I had to pick a winner here, I would still go with Nashville. And then you mentioned with Alex Lyon, that's a concern. He's a streaky goaltender. He can give you some moments of brilliance where he looks like a NHL, level goaltender. He's in my eyes, he's a backup at best. He's a guy who's earned the spot now to where for at least next season, wherever he lands, if it's with Detroit or somewhere else, he should be the number 2 guy and should get that designation for as long as he can stay healthy, obviously. So that being said, he's streaky. And I think, we've seen, his bad. Now we could see a little bit of an upside, but I don't think it's going to be enough against this Nashville team. So there could be a spot where I look to grab Nashville live in game because I do think they find a way to win this one. But I like to draw more. And like I said, I like those the over first period and full game. Sprinkle a little now and sprinkle a little bit more in game.
All right, good stuff. As far as props go, yeah, Red Wings team total over. I should minus 140. You know what? I'll probably do that. I was going to just go money line. I was worried the team total might be a little too rich, but minus 140 is good enough for me. What I'll do is I'll split the Detroit portion of it, the Detroit money line portion of my bet with the team total. I'm doing that a lot lately with underdogs. Look at Buffalo the other night against Edmonton, where Buffalo's in that game for a while. Money line still looks like it's in decent shape, but it falls apart in the third. But the team total over still cashes. So that's a good thing to do. You see it a lot. The underdog loses the game, but they still go over their team total. And I could see that maybe happening here with Detroit. As far as props go, Larkin coming back. Larkin over 1.5 points. Look he had 2 goals in his return. You could do it. You know what you could do? Here's a good SGP. Larkin over 1.5 points. Keep it simple. Larkin over 1.5 points. Philip Forsberg over 1.5 points. Put those two together. You're going to get at least a decent plus price. You don't get a huge one. You won't get a bargain bin type of plus price, but you'll get that. Yossi, you can throw him in there. You can throw him in there too, Terry, Ray Vegas. Yeah, Yossi just to get 1 point. You could even to sweeten it up, sweeten the pot a little bit. But those would be the ones. Yossi to get a point, and especially Forsberg over 1.5 points, Larkin over 1.5 points. Nyquist maybe to get a point because against his old team, exactly. The Detroit Red Wings. So this is definitely a nice little same game parlay games. Nyquist, Forsberg, Larkin, maybe a little Yossi. Those 4 guys in particular get in the kitchen, stir the pot, put some ingredients, add, subtract, make it the perfect recipe and come up with something that I think's got a decent chance to hit from an SGP standpoint in this game. Involving those guys, definitely. It makes sense to me. All right, that is the afternoon card. Let's. By the way, we don't have goalie confirmed yet for Nashville. We think Saros, projected to be Saros, but it's not confirmed of yet if he'll be in net. Lankinen is coming off a shutout. I doubt Burnett's going to give him back-to-back games because he rarely does, but He is coming off a shutout, so maybe that will compel him to start him once again. Ottawa, New Jersey. We've got New Jersey minus 160, home favorites. The total in this game currently 6.5, shaded to the over. I mean, this is one of those games where I've said this before. Ottawa can sneak up and beat someone when you least expect it, and New Jersey is flighty enough that they could allow Ottawa maybe to go into their building and beat them tonight. But New Jersey beat Pittsburgh. A very good win after that against Winnipeg the other night for the Devils. So they've now won 2 in a row. They've looked better. This would be, Ice X is on the draw. I wouldn't talk anyone out of the draw. I think the draw makes some sense here in this game. It could get there. But the problem with the draw is Ottawa could be right in this game, lose 4-3 in overtime, and they could get rolled 5-2 or 6-2. It could be like it's a very, very difficult team to pin down one game to the next, how they're going to perform and how well they're going to show up. So from that standpoint, makes the draw a little bit of a moving target for me. But I do like over bifecta in this game. I might even add the over trifecta because New Jersey's had a bad way of giving up goals early in games at home. We've seen it all year. John Massey's talked about it. How many times have the New Jersey Devils gotten behind at home, given up the first goal at home? It's been an issue all season. Now, the last 2 games, I believe they scored first against Pittsburgh. They did. And they definitely scored first against Winnipeg. So they've kind of quelled those issues for 2 games. But now you're playing a lesser team. I could see Ottawa sneaking on the board early. So lean to the draw. But what I prefer more is probably to look toward the over trifecta here. Over 1.5 first period, over both teams to score first period, and over 6.5 here in this game. And I know Jake Allen's back in net. He's played well. He really has. And and you got to give him credit for that. But can he keep this up indefinitely? That remains to be seen. Jonas Korpisalo will be in net for the Ottawa Senators. And as I've said this year, with the kind of season he's had, I've been calling him Jonas Korpisalo. So he's been a corpse at times in net for them this year. He hasn't been good at all, but we'll see how he fares tonight. Alex, what do you think here? Senators, Devils.
I love this first period over quite a bit, and I'm just looking back to try to get the actual trend. It was so far back that it's 13-3 the last 16 of the first period over. So I even at $1.45, I like it all the way up to $1.50. That's my absolute high threshold for a pregame first period over. But I definitely would be willing to take that shot here. So because I'm laying that high of juice, I don't really have the over trifecta or anything else. That's just kind of the one thing I'm looking at. Draw makes sense because of the 2 teams that just basically seem to be playing for exercise, right? Like New Jersey's not going to make any kind of push or run at this point. So we could see goals going back and forth. I don't know if it's going to be Carolina-Washington part 2 necessarily, but I do like goals in this one. So this is more of a live look late. And we'll possibly grab a little bit of a live draw, which is something I'll be doing a lot more now in game 2, especially in the playoffs. I'm going to be doing the splits with these draw plays as well as I've been doing with first periods and full game over. So it's something that you'll be hearing me say a little bit more over the next few weeks, grabbing some draw pregame and also adding on if we have, a team with a lead early and, it looks like they might lose that lead. So lead changes are something we can, manipulate and we look for as far as, next to score props. But we can also, find that as a time to grab a draw, just like we find it to try time to grab a side in that same category.
I agree. That's definitely a good approach at this time of year. As far as the Devils props, do we maybe look at Jack Hughes over 1.5 points tonight? Is he starting to heat up? That was a good game for him against Winnipeg. And I know he's had a rough go. He's been criticized a little bit for what's happened lately with this New Jersey team and the struggles they've had. But, we're definitely seeing signs of him starting to get his game back on track in the last little bit for the New Jersey Devils. We'll see if he can keep that rolling here this afternoon as they take on the or tonight rather, as they take on the Ottawa Senators. But I'm going to go back to Mercer and Holtz. I think Mercer and Holtz is finally getting more of an opportunity right now with this New Jersey Devils team. I think finally, look, every time he made a mistake, I know I mentioned this the other day, it seemed like Lindy Ruff would bury him on the 4th line, just totally, put him out to pasture and say, you know what? You've got all the skill in the world, but you make one little mistake with the puck defensively and you're paying the price for it. I think Travis Green has at least given him a little bit more leeway here. You make a mistake, you're not riding the pine just like that, for the rest of the game. And not only that, but, he's made a effort to give, Alexander Holtz a spot where he should be, a spot where he can thrive, up the lineup in a top 6 forward role. So, I think that's made a little bit of a difference as well. for him. That he's been able to get, more traction, a little more confidence. So definitely think he's definitely one of those players where I'm definitely looking at him as a value type player prop type of bet late in the near future moving forward for Alexander Holtz. Again, I just think at least with Travis Green, we're going to see him get a little bit more of an opportunity and not have that situation where he feels like every mistake that he makes, is going to end up a mistake that he pays the price for, and he's going to be down on the fourth line. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on here moving forward, is his opportunity going up. And Mercer, I've talked about for sure. He's definitely someone that has been pretty good all season, but especially lately, we're starting to see his offensive capabilities return to the forefront. So yeah, Mercer and Holtz, I think, have some value. Timo Meier too is heating up again for New Jersey. Finally, I think he's having some of his better hockey for this team for the first time really since last year when they got him from San Jose. So that's definitely been a welcome sight for the Devils. All right, next up, as we continue along, we've got one of the games of the night for sure. There's great games coast to coast on national TV tonight, both sides of the border. I mean, the Hockey Night in Canada main game at 7 Eastern, Edmonton, Toronto, doesn't get much better than that. And of course, ABC has a rare Saturday night primetime spectacular here tonight, and it's a damn good hockey game as well, which we'll get to in just a bit. But here, first, Edmonton, Toronto. Edmonton minus 135, road favorites, 6.5 being the total in this game. Certainly, when you look at Toronto going into this game, they're coming off the bounce-back win against Washington, Samsonov in net, but very much banged up and depleted at this moment. Now, Mitch Marner's missed a few games. They've been able to still find ways to win without him, but he's still out. Ilya Lyubushkin's still out. And the one that's concerning, because he's been on fire lately, Tyler Bertuzzi with an illness, is a game-time decision here tonight for this game. And he's been absolutely terrific. Three goals and 6 points, or 3 goals and 5 points, rather, in the last 4 games for Tyler Bertuzzi. So he's definitely been playing well for this Leafs team. You got Edmonton, meanwhile, coming off the 8-3 victory over Buffalo. They basically turned a close game, 3-3 going into the third, into a rout. 5 goals in the third to turn that one into a blowout against the Buffalo Sabres. We'll see how they fare here tonight. I know in Toronto, the Leafs have won each of the last 2 meetings. It's actually a bit of a revenge spot for Toronto. Edmonton got the meeting earlier this year in January, 4-2. The Oilers beat the Leafs. That's when Toronto was kind of struggling a little bit. We'll see how they fare here tonight. I don't really want anything to do with the side in this game. I'll take a shot with the draw. Oilers have gone to overtime or a shootout 4 of the last 8 games. Toronto, I could see this one being close. They played a shootout game with another Class A team last Saturday night at home against Carolina. That game went to a shootout 5-4. I was on the draw in that game. I think Alex was on the draw in that Canes-Leafs game last Saturday. That's what I see here. Mm-hmm. I don't want to lay $1.35 with Edmonton. I actually lean Toronto, but they're a little bit banged up, and Bertuzzi being out would really hurt because he's been one of their best forwards. They could still win without him, but would make things more difficult. I lean Toronto if I were to bet a side money line. I do think there's a little value on the Leafs here, but mainly I'm going to look at the draw here in this game with the Oilers and the Leafs. What do you think here, Alex? Edmonton, Toronto.
Yeah, this is one of the draw plays I bet this morning, and like you said, Edmonton's been playing tight games. Both teams, this is a classic draw season spot, cross conference. Both teams just wanting to get their points, and nothing crazy to happen. And this is a game that definitely feels like it could slow down a little bit if it is tied. And personally, I wouldn't mind seeing Toronto take the L tonight, because it would actually kind of look toward a spot we were talking about before the show for tomorrow. But I think this is going to be a fun one, back and forth battle, and I think this one definitely goes past 60 minutes. So the only thing I have here is the draw. I got that at plus 380.
I like it. The draw plus 380 here in this matchup. You look at the head-to-head meetings here with Toronto and Edmonton. Not every game's gone over. We've seen a lot of games land on 6. The last 5 meetings, we had 3 of the games land right on 6, and only 2 of them got to 7 or more. So that's why 6.5, it's a little with the way the total might go in this game between these two teams. So it's not the slam dunk over trifecta. I lean over trifecta, maybe just for some entertainment level amount, nothing significant. Maybe I get in on an over trifecta because there's always the potential. This is a 6-5 game with the offensive capabilities of both of these teams. But I also think it could be a little bit lower scoring. I think we're going to get Skinner in net for the Oilers. And, of course, Ilya Samsonov for Toronto, who's been solid in net for a large part of the recent games that he's been in between the pipes. So we'll see how it goes here in this one. Yet at the same point in time, you can also look at last Saturday night with the Leafs and the Hurricanes, and you see that in that game we ended up having 5-4, turned into quite the high scoring.
Well, I think he might have froze. All right. Well, we were talking about Edmonton and Toronto, so I'll wait for him to get back before we switch games. But yeah, just kind of looking at spots here, like I said, definitely feels like this could be one of those games that if it's higher, if I like the draw, but I would be leaning the same way you are, more of a 5-5 kind of a game than say a 2-2 kind of a game. I definitely do think we have goals here, and there's a goal prop that I will be talking about later on in this contest. So get back to you.
No doubt. Yeah, we're back. Sorry about that, but yeah, because look, Toronto and Carolina, which Carolina is not quite the Edmonton's not always the defensive type of team Carolina is, and yet the Leafs and the Hurricanes still got 5-4, went over the total. That's why I still think it could get there. So I'll probably have a small over trifecta here in this game. There is a really good prop game. I agree with John Tavares, goal, assist, or even over 1.5 points. He's got multi-point games in a row now for the Leafs. And look, he's also Brett Skalski used him as a bargain bin earlier this week with the over 1.5 points. So definitely, I think he's got to be someone you think about in either on a separate over 1.5 points bet, or you put it in as part of an SGP. But I definitely think you've got to look in that direction, as far as he is concerned in this game. Also, what I would probably look at here on the Toronto side of the equation right now, if Bertuzzi plays, you got to consider him. But Max Domi's heating up as well for the Leafs. He finally got a chance to play with Matthews the other night, and the playmaking ability that he showed on display that night against Washington was fantastic. And I believe he should be back there tonight with Matthews and Nyes. Domi, anything, especially the assist prop with Domi. But Domi to get a point, Domi in, over 1.5 points even, because he had 4 assists against Washington, playing with Matthews and Nyes against the Capitals. Bobby McMahon is always a threat. He's up on the second line with Tavares and Nylander. He's probably worth a shot as far as a goal prop. Don't count out Nick Robertson, even though he's on the third line. He's a threat. You're getting great prices with him. And then on the Edmonton side, yes, Zach Hyman in Toronto. This is a Zach Hyman goal, maybe 1.5 goals, maybe even a sprinkle on the hat trick spot. This is the team that didn't sign him or didn't give him the money that he was kind of looking for, or his agent was looking for. He went to Edmonton instead and signed there. This is definitely a game that Zach Hyman, look, he produces right now against everybody, but especially tonight going back to Toronto, he could. Connor Brown, another former Leaf, and look, he's suddenly after going without forever, it felt like, without a goal, Connor Brown has started to score a little bit. So Brown and Hyman are worth a look. I agree. Vogel and McLeod, because of where they are in the lineup, are good value playing with Nuge on the second line. McLeod scored the other night, and I had a piece of McLeod to score against Buffalo, plus 700, which for a guy that was playing on the second line, it was really a crazy price on Ryan McLeod, and he ended up finding the back of the net for the Oilers. So, I like my draw bet. Now, I'll have a little bit on the trifecta over, but this is to me a great prop game more than anything. There's some really good options, juicy, tantalizing player prop options. So check out the Patreon card later today, patreon.com/iceguys. I've got a fucking laundry list of props every single day on the Patreon page. I'm going to have a bunch from this game, no question about it. And so check that out. That'll be on the Patreon page later today, patreon.com/iceguys. So make sure you just $10 per month. You get every side, every total, every player prop that me and Alex have on the Patreon page. So another reason to check that out. Sign up, $10 per month, patreon.com/iceguys. All right, we move from the big national TV game north of the border on Hockey Night in Canada to the big national TV game south of the border. The Florida Panthers taking on the New York Rangers, a rare ABC Saturday night spectacle. here tonight, which I believe they've done this because, well, first of all, they don't have NBA on their schedule, and B, they wanted to give the women's college basketball tournament some airtime this afternoon on ABC. So they decided let's do a primetime hockey game on Saturday night, which is what they've done. Panthers and Rangers got even money here, minus 110, both sides in this game. The total 6 shaded to the under. Everyone's panicking about the Panthers, right? Everyone's starting to panic here about the Panthers a little bit. They've gone through a little blip. They've gone through a little struggle here these last few games. And now it's getting to the point where Paul Maurice is getting a little agitated, because I listened to his comments after the Nashville loss the other night. He's like, we don't look like the team that we need to be at playoff time, or what we were this year or last year. And he said, we're not winning anything playing the kind of game we just played tonight against the Nashville Predators. So it was the first time in what feels like forever, because it's been a honeymoon for the Florida Panthers, but for what feels like 2-3 months, that they've been playing some really good hockey. But it's Paul Maurice. It's first time in a while he's been a little bit agitated about his team and the way they're playing. And look, rightfully so. It's not been a great few games here for Florida. Tampa goes in there and beats them earlier last weekend. Of course, they end up having the game against the Predators the other night, which just was not a good game by their standards. Offensively, they got shut down. They really didn't generate enough. Maurice said they kind of got outworked in that game as well. It's now 3 losses in a row for the Panthers, going back to the 4-0 shutout against Carolina 9 days ago. Then the home loss to Tampa, then the home loss to Nashville. So, 3 straight losses for this team. We'll see if they can bounce back here against this New York Rangers team, a Rangers team that hasn't beaten Florida yet this year. Florida is 2-0 in the head-to-head meetings against the New York Rangers going into this matchup tonight. We'll see if the Panthers can maybe have the Rangers be the cure that fixes their problems. Because they have played well against the Rangers this season. Looks like for goaltending tonight, it will be the Russian battle, that we all hoped and expected we would see. Sergei Bobrovsky, Igor Shesterkin here for the New York Rangers in net. Bobrovsky for Florida. There's injuries on both sides. We know Ryan Lindgren and Jacob Trouba are still out for the Rangers on the blue line. But for Florida, it's multiple blue liners. Kulikov's out. Aaron Ekblad, of course, still out. And now Josh Mahura, who's been in the lineup in place of Ekblad, he got a lower body injury on Thursday against Nashville, and he's day-to-day and may not play. So we could be going to it could be Tobias Bjornfoot time on the blue line tonight for Florida, as all of a sudden their blue line depth is getting tested just a little bit here going into this game. They could be without 3 regular starting defensemen here for this game. And, of course, the big one is Alexander Barkov, the captain, doubtful for this game. He missed the game against Nashville, and sure enough, they got blanked 3-0. Paul Maurice said he doesn't expect Barkov in the lineup tonight, and of course he is not. And we will see how he fares. Obviously, that's the captain. That's 18 goals and 48 assists out of your lineup. And all of a sudden, you've got to rejig that top line a little bit. But what that does mean is we do have some value to look at. And the value is we've got 2 old favorites. And Paul Maurice has put these 2 guys on the top line with Reinhart before. And I guess now with Barkov out, he figures, you know what? It's about time again. Verhaeghe's been dropped to the second line with Bennett and Tkachuk. Rodriguez, who's been on the top line a bit, is down on the third line with Stenlund. And all of a sudden, a cold Tarasenko, who's been a little bit invisible the last few games for Florida. But on the top line tonight with Reinhart, we've got Anton Lundell centering that line, and our old friend E2 Cool Mint Luostarinen on that top line as well for the Florida Panthers. So definitely some prop value with Luostarinen and Lundell going into this game tonight for the Florida Panthers. So we'll see how that goes. But for me in this game, I like the draw. I definitely like the draw. I think we could see overtime here. I'm ready to buy in at this price a little bit, though, on Florida to snap the drought and get back on track here. They're a good road team. Let's not forget that. Florida's been even better on the road this year than they've been at home. Best road record in the NHL. Maurice got after them a little bit after the Nashville game. I expect a good effort from Florida. I don't know if that means they're going to win for sure, but I think I'm going to get a really good effort from this group tonight. They know it's time to buckle down, try to reestablish our game again. And look, the Rangers just have been snake bit against Florida. They have not been able to beat this team as of late. So, and to me, this is more of a price thing than anything. You've got the best road team in the NHL at basically even money, which you don't get every day. So I'm going to look toward the Panthers here, minus 110, and also the draw here in this game. I actually lean over as well here, 6. And you can actually get 5.5 at a reasonable price if you shop around, because a lot of books have it at 6. But again, Pinnacle is a book I often use when I see these 6s that are juiced to the under, and I'm interested in looking at an over. I'll often go to Pinnacle and get a better price. You could actually get as low as minus 125 at many books right now with over 5.5. Even FanDuel, has over 5.5 minus 128. So I do like over, especially at the 5.5, because again, the Rangers, just like I talked about with Boston, their offense is clicking more than a team that should have their totals at 5.5 at this point in time. So that's the way I'm approaching it here. A little bit on Florida, the draw, and the over 5.5. Alex, what do you think here? Panthers, Rangers.
Yeah, I immediately bet the over trifecta when I got up this morning and saw this, and certainly with the 5.5, I actually got minus 122. It's moved up to 128 at FanDuel.
Oh yeah, this is that crazy ass series history. Panthers and Rangers over every friggin' game. Yes, forgot about that. Yeah.
So it was automatic when I saw that these two teams are playing, and it was a 5.5. So even 6+ money is fine. But yeah, you want to grab an over in this one, and so I'm also on correct score 60 minutes 3-3. I'm on both teams to score in the first period. And I'm on the first period over here as well. This is going to be a fun game and a perfect game to have on ABC on prime time. Back and forth, two good teams. I think it's going to be a lot of physicality here too, because these two teams know that this could be the Eastern Conference Final preview. We could easily see this being, and that would be one hell of a series. I think it's going to have that kind of a feel. Not so much that kind of a pace, though. I think it's going to be a higher kind of a regular season, kind of a more offensive pace. So I like goals here. So give me the over, first period and full game, both teams to score. Correct score 3-3 after 60 minutes, and that all leads to the draw as well.
So I just have the last 10 head-to-head meetings in front of me, Panthers and Rangers, 9-0-1 to the over, 9-0-1, and every game has had at least 7 goals. That one game that was a push, the total, believe it or not, was 7. So that tells you all you need to know. That's why getting 5.5, minus 128 right now at FanDuel. And so it's basically 10 straight games where we've seen at least 7 goals between these two teams. But you said it goes back further, 18?
18, because I'm looking at Killer Sports with that chart, and there's one, they don't have a 7 listed, so I'm guessing they counted it as a 6.5. So if you go in 6.5 or lower for a total, 18 straight overs.
There you go. All right. Speaking of crazy turn of events, Islanders up 2-0 on the Jets. Where did this come from? The Islanders. Where did this come from the Jets?
Yeah.
So pretty rather surprising start, but
yeah,
it's early, and I think the key now for Winnipeg is get the next goal. You make it 2-1, and you got this fragile Islanders bunch, gripping their sticks all over again. So yeah, it's a bad start for the Jets, but get the next one. Yeah, I always say 2-1 before 3-0, and you're fine in a hockey game.
I grabbed plus 140 when it was 1-0. So yeah, like I said, I still don't think they're dead in the water right now. And if you like them in the game, maybe grab them next goal, and you can grab even a little smaller piece now, which should be, I'm sure it'll be a price plus around plus 250 or something. So.
Yeah, I'll sprinkle at some point a little bit on the Winnipeg Live, but again, we'll see. And again, yeah, the Jets aren't cooked against Varlamov. Anything can happen. The key for the Islanders, you got to keep your foot down. You can't give Winnipeg any sort of life. You got to keep coming after it here and try to make it 3-0. They have had a good start. I've had this game and the Bruins game on, and they have had a good start. And it's probably one of the best 10-minute sequences I've seen out of Patrick Waugh's team in a very long time. They're dominating this early part of the game. But again, they've got to get the next one. If Winnipeg gets this to 2-1, all the fragile emotions come back again for a team that's on this losing streak like the Islanders are. I've seen it before. It's critical. It's the next goal is the one where I think it's got to goes a long way to deciding the hockey game.
Absolutely, especially if it comes in its first period.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll keep an eye on that. But a good start for the Islanders, their first one in quite some time. And as far as props go, like I mentioned, I think the Lundell and Luostarinen combination for Florida on the top line is worth a look. Roslovic on the top line with the Rangers worth a look. Panarin's been on fire. Trocheck, Lafreniere, you could take your pick. Anyone on that second line, they've been very good for the Rangers. So those would be some props I'd look at for that game. ABC, let's give them some credit. Finally, they got it right. They've got a great ass game tonight. Great game. Finally, no Pittsburgh, no. None of the. They always go back to Pittsburgh. We've seen Pittsburgh way too many fucking times on these Saturday games on ABC. Way too many times. They're acting like this is 2009 all over again, and people want to see Crosby and Malkin in their prime and an awesome Pittsburgh team every single week. That's not the case anymore.
No.
They finally figured it out. It's the best ABC game on paper they've had in a few weeks. Tonight at 8 Eastern with McDonough and Ferraro. So and Emily Kaplan. I can't omit her. She does a great job.
But you know what? They are falling into that Sunday night baseball trap. It's Philly, Boston, New York, Philly, Boston, New York. I mean, this is a good one because they got Florida involved. But
actually, Florida now has been on ABC a couple of times now.
That's right. Yeah, you're right.
That.
That's right.
Yep.
That's true. So they're in the mix now.
Yeah, Florida and Detroit. I think there was a Florida-Boston game, or Florida-Detroit's the one I definitely remember was on a Saturday afternoon. Earlier in the year, actually, it was in January or February, I believe. So definitely keep an eye on that. All right, so that's a great game. I'm looking forward to it. Next up, we go to the late games. Calgary Flames, Vancouver Canucks. Next up here, we've got the Vancouver Canucks minus 185, home favorites. The total in this game currently 6, shaded to the. Oh, there's your Winnipeg goal. There you go, 2-1. Now let's see what happens. Now let's see you get 10-1 shots in the next part of this game. The New York Islanders after that. Now this is going to be the test here. Something bad happens to this team. They folded the last 6.
Yeah. This may be the spot. Now we look at, like I said, live draw. If you're looking for a boosted price, now with a 2-1 spot, this is something to look at now.
Yeah, exactly. So again, now the mental side of it, sports, comes into play here for the New York Islanders in this game. So we'll see how this one goes. Yeah, I did not expect high scoring in this game like this, but it is what it is. The other game is the one I want to see some goals, and we haven't seen any yet with the Bruins and the Flyers. Man, I'll tell you what, some of these Saturday afternoons, they've treated me very poorly. And it was starting off that way again here. So
certain teams, like I said, Boston on Saturday.
These early games bets here, yeah.
Boston on Saturday, they're just a weird team on Saturday. Not that they're good or bad. It's just they're just hard to read on a Saturday compared to like middle of the week.
Yeah, no doubt. So again, let's see what the Islanders do now with the Jets finally getting a little life. All right, Flames and Canucks. Look, Calgary. You look at what they've managed to do here of late. It's a team that they've been all over the map, really, with their results. If you go back and you look at recent outcomes here for Calgary, they lose to Washington 5-2 at home last game, snapping a 2-game win streak against Vegas and Montreal. They lose the 3 before that. This is still a team defensively. I still think it's in play that I don't trust them to shut down teams consistently. I know they had those games where Vegas only scored a goal against them and Montreal only scored 2 against them in the victories, but take those 2 games out. And look, Vegas, even though, they're starting to get back on track, they're not lighting it up still. They only scored 3 in their win against Jersey. They only scored 3 in their win against Seattle the other night. So even that allowance of just 1 goal to Vegas, take it with a grain of salt for Calgary. But when they've played really good teams and potent teams, Florida puts 5 on the board, Carolina 7, Colorado 6, Washington gets 5 against Calgary in the last game. I don't trust the blue line still, minus Tanev, minus Hanifin. I've talked about this a lot. They're incorporating a lot of younger blue liners. They've got to play more minutes. They're not accustomed to it. You've got Shillington and Anderson on your top pair. Uyghur and Miramonov's just a young kid. And then you got Hanley and Pahal, who are maybe going to be good in time, but again, getting used to where everybody is on the ice. It's not exactly a team I trust. I'm definitely interested here, Canucks team total. Now, I know Vancouver, the one concern, though, I would have with that is Vancouver, lately when they get a lead, they've been sitting on it. They don't always press for more goals. Rick Tockett's trying to get them to really button things up defensively of late down the stretch, ramp up their game for playoffs when, you're going to have to protect leads and you're going to have to play good team defense. But I definitely think the Canucks can take advantage at home of this Calgary blue line that, as I said, is still, in my opinion, quite shaky. And you look at where the team total is, it's plus 100. It's right around even money. I think it's a playable number, a playable price. So that's the only bet here for me. Vancouver team total over 3.5, plus 100. What do you think here in this one, Alex? Flames, Canucks.
I like the over trifecta, but I'm playing all of these small. I do like over 6 minus $1.20, over 1.5 minus $1.30, and both teams to score. I saw plus 176. I got to actually bet that one a little bit, but I like that spot, and we've seen the trend. Calgary 8-1-1 to the over the last 10 meetings, or last 10 games overall, and 7-3 the last 10 meetings against Vancouver. Because I know Vancouver wants to try to play, more defensive minded, slow things down, but I think Calgary is going to kind of open that game up. These are two teams. I don't know. This rivalry kind of died down a little bit, but these two teams kind of get, there's some kind of agitation when we see these two teams play. So that could lead to some penalties being called, some power play chances for both teams. And then too, Vancouver just still scares the shit out of me too. Goaltending wise, how long can you run with this tandem right now? And even with Demko, when he does come back, it's like, how's he going to be, fully just be ready? They got to be careful, Vancouver. You're obviously trying to hopefully win, the division and get ready for the playoffs. But you still want to try and win games, but you got to realize the prize is once you get into the postseason and be ready for game one, round one, like you said. So I think this game ends up being higher scoring. So nothing on the sides. I don't even like the draw here. Just give me the over trifecta, but a little bit smaller units than it would be for, say, the Florida New York Ranger game.
All right, so small over trifecta. Yeah, I've got a couple of those that are smaller, like Edmonton, Toronto, for example. That's a smaller over trifecta for me than usual. But look, definitely. And look, he hasn't been lighting it up lately for Calgary, but going back to Vancouver, first time since the trade, you got to think Andrei Kuzmenko brings something to the table here tonight for the Calgary Flames. So I agree with that. Kuzmenko, props, goal prop, assist prop, anything of that variety. Probably worth a look, playing with Sharon Govich and Huberdeau. Sharon Govich, we've talked about how great he's been for the Calgary Flames. He's actually on a cold streak right now. 2 games without a goal. That's a cold streak for him. Igor Sharon Govich, the way he's been going for the Calgary Flames. As long as Pospisil and Connor Zary, remain on the top line with Godry, I definitely think there is value with both of them. So there's probably a couple of prop looks for Calgary tonight. For Vancouver, Höglander on the top line, and I'm going back to the well with a guy that cashed a bargain bin for me against Buffalo the other night, Connor Garland for the Vancouver Canucks. I was on the prop against both Buffalo and Montreal. It was against Montreal I used it as a bargain bin. But back-to-back games with a goal, Connor Garland is fitting in very nicely on the top line with Elias Pettersson. There's definitely been some chemistry there, so good prop there. I wouldn't argue with that. Maybe even a Pettersson, if you want to do an SGP in this game, Pettersson over 1.5 points. He's starting to get it rumbling again for the Vancouver Canucks. And I think just he's found some nice little chemistry here with Höglander and with Garland on that top line. He had 3 points, by the way, against Buffalo earlier this week. So definitely, especially on the Vancouver side of the equation, my favorite two are Höglander and Garland. Flanking Elias Pettersson. Now, I don't know if Garland is bargain bin worthy. He barely was bargain bin price worthy against Montreal, plus 300, right on the nose. Tonight, he's plus, oh my goodness, he's plus 330 at FanDuel. Wow. Well, I might have to change my bargain bin special pick for later in the show. I might have to now after seeing that. Because you don't get a top line player playing with a guy with great chemistry and creativity and playmaking ability like Pettersson, and Garland now with goals in back-to-back games at plus 330 to score a goal on the top line. You don't get that every day. So I think we might have to, as Zadorov's been scoring too. Good point by Cuban. You're right. I don't know if that's going to sustain itself and keep going, but for now, ride it. Nikita Zadorov has suddenly become a Bobby Orr on the blue line. Paul Coffey on the blue line here the last few games for the Vancouver Canucks. So definitely keep an eye on that. We'll see if he can keep up the sniping here tonight for this Vancouver team. Let me see if I can bring up his, because he's only on the third pair too. Yeah, he got 2 goals against Montreal, and then he scored 3 games before that against Colorado. So you're right. It's been strange to see it, but yes, Nikita Zadorov suddenly chipping in offense here for the Vancouver Canucks. All right, the Chicago Blackhawks and the San Jose Sharks, probably better off these two teams lose this game. But nevertheless, we've got Chicago minus 115, slight road favorites. The total in this game currently at 6, pretty much across the board in this one. Now, it is important to note with San Jose, Mackenzie Blackwood is back. And I'm not a big fan, but he's certainly better and potentially a lot better than Kakkonen, who's now gone in New Jersey, better than Magnus Krona, and better than Devin Cooley. He is. I mean, we're not the biggest Mackenzie Blackwood fans, but we have to admit that he's definitely better than any of those three guys. And he actually didn't play that bad. He had bad games too before his injury, but at least he was capable of a couple of 3-2 wins, or, a couple games there where he'd give up 2 goals or less. You weren't getting that at all, really, from Magnus Krona. He had really struggled the last few starts we saw him in net. So Blackwood is back in net. This will be his second start back since returning from injury and returning from the long-term injured list. And keep in mind, too, with Blackwood, that first start back came against mighty Tampa Bay, who are scoring goals in bunches right now. So it wasn't the easiest first outing in net for Blackwood, having to face Tampa Bay the other night. 6 straight losses for San Jose. Chicago's dropped 3 of their last 4 games. The only win was actually against this San Jose team in Chicago, 5-2. We'll see if they can duplicate that here tonight in the Shark Tank. It's a revenge spot for San Jose, but I'm not putting money on San Jose, and I'm definitely not taking Chicago as a road favorite right now either in this game. This does feel like 2 bad teams roll the puck out over trifecta, but it's got this weird feeling to me too that we could see with Mrazek in net and Blackwood, who's better than anything they had in net before. Maybe we see 2-1. We did see a 2-1 game in Chicago with these 2 teams back in January. Last meeting did go over the total. I will say this: the last 2 meetings here in San Jose have been overs. 5-2 Chicago October of last year, and 4-3 Chicago in a shootout February of last year. Both of them went over the total. This is kind of like what Alex said about the game with Calgary, Vancouver. He's on the over trifecta, but small. I think that's probably where I will land on this game. Over trifecta, but small. What do you think here, Alex? Chicago, San Jose.
Yeah, I don't like the over trifecta in this one. I do like the first period over here. 1.5 minus $1.25. He said, Blackwood back, and he's the best of what they got, but that's not saying too much. And Peter Mrazek has shown he's the better goalie of the 2. We know that, but also he's given up some softer goals of late, and it's just kind of showing some signs of fatigue. Keep in mind, this is probably the healthiest he's stayed, knock on wood, in quite some time. So he's been getting the bulk of the starts as the number 1 goaltender, and he's susceptible to giving up some goals, especially early in the contest. So I do like the first period over, and I took the shot with Chicago minus $1.
Yeah, the goalie change. I just saw it, but it said Blackwood. What's going on with RotoWire? You can't put confirmed on your website with Mackenzie Blackwood and then see it change now. It's no longer Mackenzie Blackwood. It's Devin Cooley.
All right. Well, hey, I love it even more now. Yeah, but the goalie post has that too, confirmed. In fact, they haven't changed it. It still says confirmed Mackenzie Blackwood. So everybody check around and make sure follow beat writers for that. But either way, I do like that first period over. But Devin Cooley now, maybe I start looking at maybe full game over there as well. So maybe I look for a full game over in game. Assuming we may not get a goal scored in the first couple of minutes. So that is a slight change. But other than that, I like Chicago, and I like Chicago minus $1.10. Like that even more now with Cooley as well. What we saw from the last game was Cooley played well for about 45, 47 minutes, and then the
third period avalanche struck. Yeah.
So with that being said, and I had the draw last game because the 2 prior meetings went to the draw, I will have a little bit of draw in pocket too. Cooley can figure it out, and maybe the defense plays a little bit better in front of him, and maybe this is a 3-3 game that goes past regulation. So that's something I'll add a little bit more in pocket. But the thing I like most is first period over 1.5 minus $1.25. Run and grab that now, because that could probably go up to 130, 135, 140 with Cooley if he's confirmed. And same thing with the Hawks. I grabbed minus $1.10. Those $1.15s, you might want to grab that as soon as you can too, because we could see that move $1.20, $1.25. So if you like anything Hawks, anything first period overs, don't wait.
Yeah, Devin Cooley is confirmed. I'm just seeing that. We've got Curtis Pashelka, Sharks beat writer. Daily Faceoffs confirmed it. Yeah, so it is official. Devin Cooley, who was good for 2 periods, and then it was just it crumbled for him in the third period, badly and incredibly. I mean, it was just bang, bang, bang for Chicago in that third period against him at the United Center. 4.22 goals against, .867 save percentage. Even with the 2 good periods he played, Apparently in that start, he was still minus 1.2 goals saved above average expected.
Yeah,
so
he let Elephant Hands Ryan Donato cook him, so that should tell you all you need to know. And also too, we can't blame RotoWire. We got to blame David Quinn, because David Quinn yesterday was the one that said that Blackwood was starting, and he made the flip. So I don't know if something happened with Blackwood. Maybe he's not ready. Maybe if there's just a little bit of a setback, we'll have to check and see.
And by the way, 3-1 Islanders, so they did respond to that Winnipeg goal. 3-1 for the New York Islanders there in these early games that are underway. And again, still scoreless as well with the Bruins and the Flyers. But yeah, as far as this one goes, definitely I think the over trifecta does become a little bit stronger now that we see the goalie change for San Jose. And again, the last two meetings in San Jose have gone over the total. All right, we got two games left, Columbus and Vegas next up. Vegas minus 360, home favorites, 6.5 being the total here in this matchup. Tough spot for the Jackets, right? They were in Colorado last night. Now you're playing a back-to-back situation here against the Vegas Golden Knights, a Vegas team that may not look past Columbus like you might think they normally would. They played Columbus earlier this year, and Columbus beat them and really handed it to Vegas as well. That's when Vegas was on that road trip. They weren't playing well at all. They were struggling mightily, and Columbus ended up beating them at Nationwide Arena. So this is a chance for Vegas to exact a little bit of a payback here tonight. They've got Columbus in a spot where I think they're capable of some payback here against the Jackets, who've lost 3 in a row, 6-1 to Winnipeg. Close loss at Detroit in overtime. They should have won that game. They were up 3-2 late in regulation and blew it. And then the 6-1 loss to Colorado. They just, everything unraveled for them. We should see Danil Tarasov here for Columbus, but not confirmed. Aiden Hill projected, but not confirmed. Still a lot of injuries for Columbus. Corrali, Johnson, Fantilli, Danforth, Shinikov, Adam Boquist may not play as well. Vegas is definitely a lot healthier, although Pietrangelo might miss this game once again. He did not play due to an illness against Seattle. His second straight game he missed. It's still lingering, so he's a game-time decision tonight for the Golden Knights on their blue line. To me, this is a situation for Vegas. I think, I'm going to do a rare first-period puck line, full-game puck line here on the Vegas Golden Knights, split between the two, plus a little Vegas team total over 3.5, although I'm a little bit more concerned with that one. First of all, it's pretty highly priced, and number two is Vegas has been winning 3-1 multiple times this week at home. So I'm not as in love with the team total element of this bet with Vegas as I am the puck lines, because I could see 3-1. They sit on the lead. They have been a win. They've won multiple games where they've not gotten to 4 goals. The 3-1 win against Seattle, the 3-1 win, their most 2 recent home wins, the Devils and the Kraken, they won both of those games 3-1. So maybe you look at maybe a 3-1 correct score, 4-1 correct score for Vegas maybe. And I know Vegas has had trouble getting, their defense and their goaltending has been shaky lately. But man, if there's ever a night it's time to get your defense and goaltending it's in order, it could be tonight here against this Jackets team that's just in an absolutely horrendous spot back-to-back on the road after being in Colorado last night. So, and third road game in 4 nights as well for Columbus. So a small sprinkle on the team total over, but primarily for me, first period puck line, full game puck line for the Vegas Golden Knights. What do you think here, Alex? Blue Jackets, Golden Knights.
Yeah, the only thing I want here is the first period over. I laid $1.40 with that over 1.5. And like I said, hopefully Vegas can give me 2. You cash your first period puck line, and that's pretty much all I want out of this, because this is price wise is an ugly spot. Like I said, team total you got to lay a bit, and Vegas, like I said, 2-1, 3-1, 3-0 is kind of the way that they like to win games. But they haven't done that against Columbus. Columbus has been able to find ways to score against them, but they're missing so much of their key talent. It's hard to back anything Blue Jacket wise here either. So first period over 1.5. minus $1.40. It's the only thing I like, and I think we can rely on Vegas to at least get 2 here in that first 20 minutes.
I kind of want to take over 6.5 because Vegas just absolutely rushed Columbus 7-2 at home last year in the home game against the Jackets, and this feels like they could open up a can tonight. But they've also, as we've talked about, they've not exactly been lighting it up, like 3-3-3-1 in their last. They haven't top 3 goals now in 4 straight games. So that's the one concern. Their offense isn't in the best form, but if it's ever going to bust out and break out for an explosion, it could be tonight here against
True.
the Columbus Blue Jackets. So
Yeah.
keep an eye on that. And as far as props for this game, again, I'm keeping it a little lighter with the props here, but I still think that the Dorofeyev, Carlson, and Matteo line have some value. Carrier, Stevenson, and Mantha. Carrier's been moved up to the second line with Stevenson and Mantha. So Will Carrier, definitely there's some value in his props tonight for sure for the Vegas Golden Knights. All right, the final game of the night, the Tampa Bay Lightning continue their West Coast Cali road trip in LA, taking on the Los Angeles Kings. We've got Tampa Bay currently here, or actually LA rather, minus 130, home favorites. The total in this game, 6, pretty much across the board here in this matchup. The Lightning continue to play excellent hockey on this nice little win streak. It's probably the best stretch of hockey they've put together, maybe all season, certainly in a very long time. Right now, I cannot say it enough how unbelievably dynamite. And this is why Tampa could still be scary. I doubt in the playoffs they could make a long run, but at least push a team in the first round at the very least. When Braden Point and Kucherov are playing like this is tough. This is tough for anybody to deal with. I mean, Braden Point's on fire the last week. Nikita Kucherov, how many points did he have the last game? 4, 5? I mean, just absolutely incredible. I think I saw something. He's had 15 points in the last 4 games for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Nikita Kucherov. Like, that's absolute insanity, what he continues to do. And that's exactly why he's in the Hart Trophy conversation this year, what Nikita Kucherov is doing. Yeah, the last 4 games, the guy's got 15 points. He had a 5-point game against the Rangers, 2 points against Florida, 4 against Vegas, 4 against San Jose. Do the math, 15 points in the last 4 games for Nikita Kucherov. It's just absolutely insanity. Right now to see the way he's performing right now for this Tampa Bay team. We'll see who's in net. Whenever I see this, Alex, and I don't see Andrei Vasilevsky at this stage of the day confirmed in net for the Tampa Bay Lightning, it starts to make me ponder a little bit that maybe this is the day, this is the night. John Cooper gives him a rest and decides to go with Jonas Johansson in net instead. So keep an eye on this. Not confirmed yet, but usually when it's Vasi, we know by now, and it's already confirmed. So this could be Johansson night. We'll have to wait and see. I not confirmed yet, but keep an eye on this throughout the course of it. If it is Johansson, I'm moving on a first period. I'm on the first period over anyway, because Tampa Bay's been a first period over machine during this run that they've been on. They've been going full game over for the most part too, until the San Jose game the other night. But I absolutely like the first period over for sure in this game. And Chris Otto's charts back it up.
Yeah.
That Tampa Bay's been really, really good, surging to the first period over here of late, to the tune of 13-2 to the first period over in their last 15 games. So, apparently it is a back-to-back for Tampa. Yes, they play Sunday in Anaheim, but you would think they'd save Johansson for Anaheim and put Vasilevsky tonight, but maybe they're going to flip it. But again, keep an eye on this. Either way, with Vasi, I'm still on the first period over, but if it's Johansson, I'll add the full game over as well here in this game. That's about it. I mean, I would certainly look Tampa Bay or pass for me, but, Kings are playing well right now at home, too. I got to admit, Kings are playing well. It's been a nice little homestand for them so far. They absolutely pummeled Minnesota the other night. They need the points just as badly as Tampa Bay. In fact, they probably need the points even a little bit more than Tampa. But, they've won their last 2 home games. They've looked impressive, 12-2, albeit one of them was Chicago. But, they played pretty well here on this homestand. Tampa got them 3-2 in overtime back in January. So it is a little bit of a revenge spot. And the Kings won last year when they hosted Tampa Bay. So I don't want to step in front of Tampa, but I don't necessarily know if I want to be on them tonight either. Definitely am on the first period over. I might add the full game over, especially if Jonas Johansson is indeed starting in net tonight for Tampa Bay. What do you think here in this one, Alex? Lightning Kings.
Well, I bet Tampa Bay plus $1.10 earlier before the show. And if I do see that it's confirmation as Jonas Johansson, I luckily have the option of the cash out button, which is what I'll certainly be doing. But either way, I like that first period over 1.5. I got minus $1.25 at Caesars. Like I said, it's like a fantastic run that Tampa Bay has been on, kind of like the old days. Tampa Bay cashing first period overs left and right. And like I said, both teams need points. So I will have a little bit of draw. This is a draw season candidate. But, Tampa has dominated the LA Kings team, 12-1 in the last 13 meetings. So they have no problem playing LA for whatever reason. that's a strong enough trend to where I like the side. Like I said, it's got to be Vasilevsky. Otherwise, it'll be more draw. So that's pretty much it. If it's Vasilevsky, it's Lightning, money line, and first period over with a little bit of draw. If it's Johansson, it's going to be heavier in the first period over, cashing out on Lightning money line, and then a little bit heavier on the draw. So that kind of, little money management kind of in real time there. So I'll be watching closely, and I'll also be tweeting that out on our link at @the_Ice Guys, as well as my own personal AX Smith Sports, whatever that confirmation comes through.
Yeah. Yeah, very average for Vasilevsky. That's true. There's no question about that. And I also want to mention, too, with the Johansson, the concerns we have. Look, Johansson, to his credit, early in the season, remember when Vasi was out, Vasi didn't start the season healthy. We didn't see All right, we're back. Sorry about that. Yeah, we are back. But yeah, as far as I was just about to say with Johansson, don't forget he played well early in the season when Vasilevsky did not start the season for the Lightning. But at the same point in time, we also have to keep in mind that once Vasilevsky came back, it's almost like psychologically, it's like it made Johansson relax a little bit. Vasilevsky's back and the hard work is over because, there were times he actually stepped up and played pretty well when Vasilevsky was injured. But since Vasilevsky's come back, I mean, his goals against and numbers have gone way down. And for the season now, they sit at 3.43 goals against, 888 save percentage. So I think when you look at this situation here, yeah, it's been ever since Vasilevsky's come back, Johansson's declined and has not played as well. So that's what the concern would be, I think, for both of us, is that this has not been a goalie that's played all that well since Vasi's come back into the fold. All right, great. And by the way, for props here, Fiala for LA, definitely can look in that direction. Trevor Moore's been picking it up again for them as well. Laferriere, has even gotten on the board a couple of times in recent games for them. And Victor Arvidsson, too, is finally back from injury. He ended up getting 2 points, including a goal in his return. That's what he's there for offense. So Victor Arvidsson, if he keeps scoring, you're not going to get this value back on him. You're not going to get this same price with him if he keeps scoring since his return. So I definitely think there's some value there with Victor Arvidsson. And look, with the way Tampa Bay's going right now, I know LA can be stingy, and Cam Talbot in net, we'll see how he fares. But this over 1.5 points, SGP with Point and Kucherov right now, it's hard not to bet that again. Over 1.5 points with Point, over 1.5 points with Kucherov, and then you throw in our guy Anthony Duclair, who seems to be scoring every game right now. And I am on Anthony Duclair to score a goal again for Tampa Bay tonight. And I might run back that same SGP. I'm a little more concerned. This isn't San Jose's defense now that we're dealing with here, but still. Braden Point over 1.5 points, Nikita Kucherov over 1.5 points, and Anthony Duclair to get a goal for the Tampa Bay Lightning. I still may run that SGP back one more time here tonight in this game between the Lightning and the Kings. Actually, I'm going to put that through the old Bet365 calculator here, and we will see what kind of price we get with that tonight. So here we go. Let me just do the login. We'll add that up. In the meantime, I'll get that to you in a moment. Great show today. It was so great to have Alex back. Alex, I know you're happy to be back as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, it's always a good time being on the show and talking hockey again, and just kind of trying to get things back to normal a little bit in my world. So wonderful, and this has been a great slate of games to talk about too. So looking forward to the action tonight as well.
Yeah, no doubt we are. It's a good Saturday slate. It gets even better, I think, late at that Detroit-Nashville game I'm looking forward to. That should be a really good one. So definitely looking forward to what we're going to see here in the latter stages. Okay, here we go. Kucherov over 1.5 points, Braden Point over 1.5 points, and Anthony Duclair to score a goal here in this game tonight. Holy shit, 20-1. Plus 2,000. It's because you're playing the Kings. Right. Look at the difference. You play San Jose the other night. That same SGP was plus 900. You're playing LA tonight. Much better team, much better defensive team, And all of a sudden, Kucherov over 1.5 points, Braden Point over 1.5 points, and Anthony Duclair to score a goal is plus 2,000, 20-1. So look at the difference that is. But I still think it's worth a sprinkle for sure. Speaking of worth a sprinkle, as in worth a subscription, the Patreon page, patreon.com/Ice Guys, just $10 per month. Our daily sides, totals, and player props are posted there each and every day. Goalie charts, totals charts as well. Bonus video content. We have more Patreon exclusive live betcasts coming up in April and beyond, late in the regular season and into the Stanley Cup playoffs. So make sure you're a Patreon member. Totally worth it. $10 per month. And again, your subscription cost goes a long way to keeping the show going in the long run. Patreon.com/Ice Guys, just $10 per month. Our next betcast, it's just a few days away. This Tuesday, March 26th, 7 p.m. Eastern. This is a free-for-all public betcast. Everybody's invited. Everybody's open to either tune in or join us live on the stream this Tuesday night, March 26th, 7 p.m. Eastern time. DM or email me or Alex for a spot on the betcast, and we will send you the link for it before it begins. I mean, where do we start with the games Tuesday night? Boston, Florida, playoff rematch, first place showdown in the Atlantic Division. Flyers, Rangers, big game for both teams. Rangers trying to win their division. Flyers trying to make the playoffs. How about Edmonton, Winnipeg? A great all-Canadian matchup. And there's more. I mean, it's a really good Tuesday night slate, March the 26th. So make sure you join us for the Ice Guys live betcast coming up this Tuesday night. And of course, make sure you also check out the Ice Guys store, get your gear and get your merch each and every day over at the Ice Guys store, iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
Yeah, if you go to iceguys.myspreadshop.com right now, click on the redeem button at the top of the page, you get free standard shipping. That's good for the next 3 days. So free standard shipping on any of your orders. We have everything in stock except one of the caps. The bargain bin cap, for some reason, has just not been in stock for a while. So, and we will have some new merch that will be rolling out. Of course, there's been a little bit of delay, obviously, naturally me traveling. So we will have some new stuff rolling out within the next couple of weeks. But all of the classic merch you're familiar with, all available right now, and free standard shipping for the next 3 days at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
There we go. Make sure you check out the store. All right, we will be back with Bargain Bin Special of the night and best bets to wrap up the show right after we hear from our great Ice Guys sponsors, our good friends over at Boston Hemp Inc. All right, Boston Hemp Inc. Make sure you check them out. And again, get 20% off all orders on the website using the promo code IceGuys at bostonhempinc.com. All right, bargain bin special of the night for this Saturday slate. Tons to choose from. Alex's first bargain, well, he's had bargain bins sent in, and we posted them on the Patreon page this week, but his first appearing on the show in a week. Alex, bargain bin special, what do you like?
Yeah, I hit one with Mackenzie Weegar too earlier in the week. But yeah, first one back on the show in Vision, and we're going with a guy who's been cashing. He cashed a few of them for me over the last this run that we've had with this bargain bin. We're going with Zach Hyman. Now he is 2 goals away from 50. He's also 3 goals away from 200 career goals against his old team. Like you mentioned, they didn't sign him. Goes to Edmonton, and all of a sudden, this guy is a top-flight scoring machine. So we're going to go with him to get 2 or more goals plus 900. That's available at FanDuel. Zach Hyman, 2 or more to get to that 50-goal plateau at plus 9-1. That will be my bargain bet for Saturday.
Yeah, that's definitely worth a bet. because he can. How many times has he scored at least 2 goals lately in a game for the Edmonton Oilers?
He's done it 4 times in the last month that I was looking at.
There you go.
And he's got the hat trick a while back.
There you go. And he's incentivized to do it tonight against his old team, the Leafs, who decided, yeah, we won't re-sign you. We'll let you walk instead. And walk he did. He walked his way to Edmonton, where he's been great for the Edmonton Oilers. So, yeah, Zach Hyman, Edmonton Oilers, plus 900, over 2+ goals, over 1.5 goals, whatever you want to call it, for Alex B. Smith with his bargain bin special of the night. I already revealed it earlier. I'm going back to the well with Connor Garland again, especially because he fits the criteria. Plus 330 at FanDuel, back-to-back games with a goal since being moved up by Rick Tocchet to the top line with Elias Pettersson. So it's back to the well one more time. Connor Garland, Vancouver Canucks, plus 330 for my bargain bin special of the night for this Saturday NHL card. All right, best bets to wrap it up. I'm on an incredible heater now. It's like a 6 or 7 game win streak now with the best bets. Hopefully we can keep it going tonight. Alex, what do you like here for best bet?
Yeah, this is a little bit higher price for what I normally have for a best bet, but it's not about the price, it's about the situation. 13-3 to the first period over the last 16 meetings. We're going with Ottawa, New Jersey. First period over 1.5. You can get minus $1.42 at FanDuel. So $1.45 up to $1.50 is what I play this for pregame. If you get anything, $1.55, $1.60, just try to grab this in the first couple of minutes of the game in game. But we're going $1.42. That is still widely available at pregame, available at FanDuel pregame with the Sens and the Devils at first period over. That's my best bet.
All right, there we go. Ottawa, New Jersey, first period over for Alex B. Smith with his best bet here for this Saturday NHL slate. My best bet for this Saturday NHL slate, I believe now, I think I did this recently, a handful of shows ago, something I don't do very often for best bet, and that is a first period best bet. But I'm going first period over with my best bet tonight. And we're going to the last game that we talked about, Tampa Bay, Los Angeles, over 1.5, minus 118 at Pinnacle for my best bet. 13-2 first period over run for the Tampa Bay Lightning going into tonight, and especially of late. They've been going over in the first period. We saw LA jump on Minnesota in the first period the other night offensively. I think we get ourselves to 2 goals at least in the opening 20 minutes with the Lightning and the Kings tonight. So Tampa Bay, Los Angeles, over 1.5, minus 118 in the first period for my best bet here for this Saturday NHL card. That'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Hit the like button on the way out. We appreciate it very much. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Saturday. Enjoy the games and good luck. And Alex is back with us tomorrow. It actually is going to be a full house tomorrow because Connor Mack is with us tomorrow. Nice. And because he missed on Thursday because he had to train for his new job, Matt Robinson's joining us on Sunday. He wanted to join us for one day this weekend, and I told him, well, we got Alex back on Saturday, and plus Dallas plays Sunday. So I was nice, and I said, you know what, Dallas plays on Sunday. We'll make it Sunday for Matt joining us. So, yeah, it'll be a great show tomorrow. Full house. Me, Alex, Connor Mack, Matt Robinson joining you for a Sunday edition of the Ice Guys. And it's a huge Sunday card, too. Way more games than normal. So it'll be a good stacked show tomorrow. Looking forward to it. We'll see you then for the Sunday edition of the Ice Guys.